Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and we are here to start the special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose, because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and the generations to come. So friends, grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we jump into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guests. And our guest today is Rawinia, and she is here, and we're excited. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Angelina. It's so nice to be here. Kia ora, everyone. My name is Rawinia. My last name's Judson. I'm originally from Aotearoa, New Zealand. So I am Māori, so Indigenous to New Zealand. And then what we also would use the name is Pākehā, which is, so I'm part English and then also part Scottish as well. And so why I'm here, I love God, and I really love supporting women to really see themselves through the eyes of Jesus, as that's really been something that's been so pivotal to being able to see who I am and my own self-worth. And I think that when women are able to see themselves in that way, they show up a lot better, not only for themselves, but for everyone else around them in their work, their purpose. And yeah, I truly believe that that's really when women start to shine brightly. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to get to know you better. And I love that you're sharing how empowering yourself, like being empowered, you help others shine their light as well. I think that is beautiful. Rawina, let's go ahead and jump into our conversation. And I want to go ahead and ask you our icebreaker question, which is for you, I'm going to ask, are you more of a sunset or sunrise person?
Oh, I love this question. I'm honestly more of a sunset person, and that's because I'm not a morning person. I used to be a CrossFit coach for many years, and so I needed to wake up quite early and coach. And so now I really love spending my mornings in a nice, slow kind of time with God. So definitely a sunset woman.
Love it. Love it. Well, we're excited to get to know you a little bit better. So I'm just going to jump into our first question. And my question is, what was the defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how did it impact you?
I really love this question. Um, to me, it was like a culmination of moments in 2018. And what really had happened is I'd created a life that was like based on the expectation of others. And so I had a job that looked really great from the outside looking in. Like a lot of people thought that I had the dream job. And at the time, I had a partner. However, we didn't get along very well. We fought a lot, and it was really challenging for us to be able to see eye to eye. And eventually, what ended up happening was my partner broke up with me, and
Mm.
I thought that at the time he was going to be the person that I would spend the rest of my life with. And that kind of point there was really, I want to say the breaking point, but really the breaking point of like all of these kind of facades that I was wearing in my life.
Mhm.
And where like I thought that I wanted all of these things, and I thought that's what you needed to be able to be happy. But like inside, I was dying. Like I was crushed inside, like, and I had struggled with depression off and on for over 10 years of my life. And
Mhm.
during that time was highly suicidal. And that moment there, was really the moment where I just really kind of fell to my knees, and like really had a choice, to be honest. Like, and at that moment, like I thought the choice was like either to give up and give in or to keep going. But there
Mm.
was just something like deep, deep down in the depths of my darkness that kind of said to me, like, just give it one more go, Rawinia, and try again. And um, that little voice was the thing that was like, okay, you know what? Like, try again. At this time, see if you can like exhaust every option possible and not give up.
Mm. And it's just something about that rock bottom that we start really kind of, I don't know if it's that grasp for that last breath of air because you're so low in the moment. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it opens up our willingness to even search for, another possibility. And I know that the cliche is, the only way from a rock bottom is up, because you're at the bottom. But and that's why I like to share stories because everyone it's a kind of a preventative measure as far as if someone's out there listening, like if you see you're on this road, like you could change now before you hit that rock bottom, right? But I mean, you're sharing some very big insight when you're talking about this pivoting point of life where it's like I can give in or I can get up and move on and move forward, right? And so in that moment, all I'm sure so much is racing through your mind. I mean, so much of your identity was wrapped up in this relationship, the idea, and too, like you're grieving the relationship and the breakup, but you're also grieving the future as well because of all the plans that you have with this
Mm,
person.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's like there's so many parts of you in that moment that you're really grieving, and that identity, right? Like
Hmm.
that identity of being that person in a perfect relationship, like from the outside looking in. And that rock bottom cliche, it's so true.
Hmm.
Um, that if you don't have the awareness of what's happening, I think that's when you kind of crash and fall. Or like the skill set to be able to see that it's happening. And like I think for me, like I just wasn't willing to see the truth of
Hmm.
what was going on, like not only in my relationship, but even in my work. And one of the best things about me is that I'm like optimistic, but like almost to a fault. And
Hmm.
so like I would just always look at the good things, versus actually kind of being willing to kind of take stock and like reflect and ask myself, well, is this like what you really want in a partner? Like, in terms of like how he's treating you and who you are as a person. And like even when it came to my work, like um reflecting on like how again like I was treated, and allowing myself to be in these spaces whereby like I wasn't valued and wasn't seen for who I truly am as a woman and the strengths and the gifts that I have. And so because I wasn't able to see those things clearly, I chose to kind of stay in those spaces that weren't helpful for me and that definitely didn't support me to flourish, and instead really kind of compounded in terms of like those feelings that I was feeling, because I was continuing to stay in environments where it reinforced this belief that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't
Hmm.
worthy, that I wasn't capable, versus having the courage to have like chosen to leave on my own accord, which is something that like I see so many women um, unfortunately continue to choose, is because they think, well, maybe like this is as good as it's going to get, or like maybe, it's not going to get better, or what if it doesn't get better? Versus
Hmm.
can I trust that God has a bigger plan for me in terms of my life and my purpose and my calling. And the reason why like all these little things are happening is he's trying to like nudge you in like
Mm-hmm.
the direction that's actually for you and say, hey, this isn't the way.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I know that a lot of the women that I work with, they love to control and they love to, want to kind of have this life that they think that they want versus, okay, well, what's the life that I actually need and what is the life that God actually wants for me? And that really being that space that is full of so much joy and purpose and fulfillment.
Mm. And you're talking about a lot of stuff here because I want to kind of peel it back a little bit. You're talking about identity, the belief system, believing that you are only worthy of, you know, what the whatever you can get and not and then comfort zones. You're talking about comfort zones. People are so comfort in the misery because we know how to operate in the misery. So, Rawana, I would like to know how did you step out of that mindset? Because it definitely, when you're talking about belief systems, you're talking about comfort zones, there's a mindset behind it. Because you mentioned the not good enough, or this is as good as it's gonna get, so I might as well just take what I have because there's no guarantee, that there's something better out there, and then trusting in God. So walk me through that process for you.
Oh gosh, I wish it was easy.
I think we all do.
Yeah, because that mindset thing, it is a massive shift. Like I'll be honest, like I don't want to try and pretend that it's not a big shift.
Uh-huh.
But what I do want to say is that it is possible, if you're willing to commit to it. And for me, and then even for a lot of the clients that I work with, those shifts really come in like the small changes and the small commitments slowly over time, instead of like trying to be like where you are and looking at someone whose life is completely different. And perhaps, that's like 10 years down the track. It's like, okay, what are the really small things that I can commit to that
Mm,
really align with the woman that I like want to be, or that I desire to be, or that God's like asking me to be, and how can I show up for that as a daily practice and as a daily commitment, and
mhm,
what fits within my current lifestyle, but also moves me closer towards the lifestyle that I want to live. Because I think like that mindset shift, like for a lot of people, it can feel really overwhelming. They're like, oh my gosh, like how am I ever going to get there?
mhm,
Versus, okay, like what's one small thing that I can do today? And like for me, like to be honest, the getting out of the comfort zone like meant doing some really crazy things, like quitting my job. I like
mm,
moved overseas, like I left the country that I was in to just really kind of shake things up and put myself in a different environment, which really
mhm,
forced me to grow, versus continuing to stay in the environment that um, really kept me small. And I think that, that can be beneficial for some people to kind of put yourself in a new environment where you're almost like challenged to kind of start to behave in different ways.
mhm,
But then that can also be highly destabilizing for a lot of people as well. And so um, it's really like with that, like asking yourself, like, what do I need? What do I know that I need in terms of like my mental health and well-being
mhm,
and community? But then at the same time, like what do I know deep down? Like I think that thing there, like there's this knowing that a lot of women have intuitively, that is something that I think is really not the secret sauce, but like it really supports us to be able to walk that path that's in
mm,
greater alignment of what God is asking us to do. And so when you can really start to listen to that knowing, but
Mm-hmm.
then also ask God as well along the way, um, it becomes a lot more simpler to make those decisions. And I know I'm kind of going slightly off tangent here when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like the mindset stuff, but really the thing that shifts the mindset is like taking action and taking small steps. And
Mm-hmm.
this, like, I've got a background in psychology, so with behavior change, and a lot of women that I work with, they say, oh, but I don't feel like it, or like I'm thinking this thing right. And the only way that we can truly make long-lasting
Mm-hmm.
changes through taking action. And so whilst you like might not think that you're able to and that you're capable of it, like the more that we do those things slowly over time, we teach ourselves that it's possible, and we show ourselves that that we're actually capable of doing those things. And then
Mm-hmm.
we start to think those things as well. And so really it's like, okay, like what's your deeper reason why? And for a lot of women who are in that space of rock bottom, right? The why
Mm-hmm.
is like, I don't want to feel like this. Like I don't want to feel this way ever again. And so that motivation for me at that time was just like, I don't want to feel like this. So like I'm gonna do this thing even though I don't feel like it right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
go to the gym, open up and be vulnerable with my friends about what I'm experiencing. Try
Mm-hmm.
this new thing that perhaps I might not work, it might work, but can I be open to trying as many ways possible to really show myself that actually I have given it my all.
Mm. And that's really good information because you're speaking about the things because mindset in order to get out of shift from a comfort zone and a habit that's not serving you, that's important. But you also talk about the alignment of God and his purpose over your life. What I find funny is because I just think God has a sense of humor sometimes is because he's like up there waiting. He's just like, eventually you'll get it. Well, we'll keep looping around until you do. But that's what happens with our circumstances. And that's why we're like, oh, I'm caught in this cycle. I'm caught in this pattern, whether it's generational patterns or whatever. Because sometimes as humans we end up modeling what was presented to us as young children in our young adult lives. And so when you recognize the pattern, that's the benefit of a rock bottom. It gives you that moment of just like, okay, let's catch up where you're at. But that's also the moment that you talk about the realignment with God's calling on you, because that's the pivot where he's saying, okay, you can do this or you can do that. You can continue or you can understand and move forward from this and actually step out of that cycle and step into something different, where then the mind shift and the habits and doing the things that aren't comfortable to you or that are the hard things, they're hard only for a moment until you get used to them and then they become habits. So you replace an old habit with a new habit. We've heard those things out there too, in the psychology world, but just as a coach, it's those things too. So how has your story shaped who you are today?
I really love that question. Um, I mean, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today if I hadn't have
Mm-hmm.
experienced all the things that I've experienced. And um, there's lots of things like, that's just like one really small kind of part of my
Mm-hmm.
story. And um, like when I look at it, like there have been so many moments where like in it, I'm um, like God, like why am I going through this? Like, almost like that, well, not almost, like definitely in like a victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now when I'm like met with challenges and obstacles, I'm like, okay, God, like what is the lesson here? Like what, like what is the purpose of this? Or I'm able to look at it a bit more objectively and be able to just like be like, okay, this is going to be part of my story. This is going to be part of my testimony in the future. Um, and so, it's like every single part of my story has given me the gift of wisdom, and really the gift of character development. And
Mhm.
so I'm able to look at all of those things and be really grateful because like I just genuinely wouldn't be the woman that I am today, and I really love the woman that I am. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm someone who is kind and generous and thoughtful and multiple other things, right? And it's only because of the experiences that I've had that I have become the person that I am. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful for like every single experience that I've had in my life.
Mm. And that's I say, I say that too because even though the good, the bad, the ugly, because I come from a story, and I love that you touched victim mentality because that was me. I was there, and when my rock bottom, why me, Lord, why?
Yeah.
Uh, but it is true. But when you can come to a point of acceptance, like, okay, yeah, I did these things, and you own it, you're free. I mean, it's almost a freeing moment too, because then you can really embrace where you've come from and go, okay, yes, this was my journey, but it no longer controls me. I control it. It's my platform to step on and move myself ahead, for whatever that is defined. And that's the beauty is we can define it for ourselves, whatever that looks like. So I love that you're touching in on those things. What would you say? Rawanina, what would you say about if to someone that is in that in between? What kind
Mm,
of advice would you give them?
hmm Um, Gosh, that in between is it's a place of so much growth. And honestly, my greatest advice is if you do have a relationship with God, is to lean on Him.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the greatest advice I can give to any person because like he is going to be the person who is going to be your rock. He is going to be the person that is really going to walk along beside you and give you everything that you need. And when you can do that and you can let go of like the need to try and control what the outcome looks like on the other side, like that's when like there is so much beauty and there is so much possibility because it's like not up to us to control like the outcome, but it is up to us to be able to take those steps forward each day, like even in the in between. And I say that, and that in between moment is like something that like never ends. Like I'm currently in an in between
Mm-hmm.
phase in my own personal life right now, and like God is really just kind of propping me up and being like, Rawinia, it's going to be okay. And like there's moments where it doesn't feel like it's going to be okay. And I think, that that's something that I also want to normalize. That you'll have moments where you're like, gosh, like I don't think that it's going to be okay. But then there's going to be moments where you're like, okay, like I really, really trust God. And
Mm.
I think that's
Yeah.
where your faith is really shaped in those in between moments. Like, that's where you really start to believe even more because like if we didn't have those moments, at least in my experience, like
Mm-hmm.
um, like yeah, you have faith, but like that's when your faith is truly um shaped, I think at least. And so like that's my greatest advice to someone who has
Mm-hmm.
a relationship with God. And if you don't, to just really focus on like can you deepen that relationship and can you find a way to
Mm.
really start to hear him more because um yeah, that's going to be a thing that's going to guide you through and guide you out the other side.
And that's important too. Like, and for those, because I work in child welfare, and we did a training one time where imagine that you're a child in the system and all these things are being ripped from you, family, friends, school, community, all these things are being ripped from you. And finally it comes down to and you've been torn away from all these things that were a part of your life. The last thing you have is faith, and now you no longer believe. And so so if there is someone in that position where I don't even, how can, because, working with children and families that go through hard stuff, they end up at that place where they no longer have trust in the Lord, and it's been
Mm,
ripped away because of the ideology of, well, if God is this loving and caring God, why would he let something like this happen to me, right? And that's where we have to realize that God is not allowing these things to happen. Like, everybody operates within their own ability to choose, and that includes our perpetrators, that includes everybody. That is not, God's not allowing that to happen. It just happens. And it's in those moments that we can look for him, because he's always there with you. You're never just alone. If you really stop and look at it, you weren't alone in your rock bottom. I wasn't alone in my rock bottom, but he was there to catch me, pick me up, and say, okay, yes, you've made these choices. Yes, this has happened to you. Yes, it's awful, but let's understand that it's just a part of your life and you can do so much with it. And that's where the Good Morning Minute came from. That's where Empower Her Steps
mm,
came from. That's where all these things are coming from. It's to use those things to help others understand who they are as well. And so faith is a big component when you're in the in between. But if you are that person that's like, I don't even have that, find a community, find someone that you can reach out to, that can help walk you through it. And then from there, build on that, whatever that looks like for you, for sure. So what does living, because you're talking about being in an in-between right now, but you definitely have a positive outlook. What does living with purpose look like for you now?
like for me, I honestly, it's living for God and living for the Lord. Like that's what it looks like for me.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where I find like my most fulfillment is like, as I mentioned earlier, like had created this life based on what I thought that I wanted and like my will, or what the world deems as like success, right? Whereas now, like I just get the most joy out of like really like listening to God and going where He's asking me to go. And like that's where I find so much purpose. And it's shifted and changed so much over the years because I have so many different skills. And sometimes it's looked like for me like going and being a CrossFit coach in a community and an area of New Zealand that's like not quite I was going to say, it's quite like run down and, a lot of people are like really struggling and, it's not a place that a lot of people want to go to. And lately it's been like, I want to say traveling the world, but being in different parts of the world and
Mm.
connecting in community with people over here and just really kind of getting to see what it's like for other people in different parts of the world. And so for me, my purpose kind of always, or like living with purpose kind of comes back to that. And then, within that, really getting to shine in the gifts that God's given me, which is like being the ability to connect with other women, to write, to share in multiple different ways. Sharing my story is like definitely one of those things that I constantly get encouraged to do and lovingly nudged to do. And so yeah, it's really kind of, I would say, like my life's work, but yeah, what God continues to encourage me to do. And that transition period that I'm in right now, it's like it's something that, kind of even since that point there, I've gone through
Mhm.
multiple different stages of transition because God's kind of said to me, okay, no, Rawinia, like your time is up here. And I'm like, oh, but God, like I love this community. And he's like, no, I want you to go and do this now. And
Mm.
so For me, yeah, that I think that's really where I I kind of like get the most purpose is just like really living in that way and meeting so many incredible people along the journey, like such as yourself, getting to have this conversation. Like I think, that's one of the most, I would say, like incredible things and things that I constantly feel blessed to be able to do.
Wonderful. Well, Rawinia, now that we're getting closer to the end of our conversation, I just kind of want to ask a question that I ask many of my guests. It's one of legacy and impact. But if today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Mm. Oh, I really like this question. Someone or person who just really planted a seed of hope in the people that she met along the way. I think that that's something that I know that I do, but for me, it's one of those things where, like, no matter who you are, like, I
Mhm.
like to try and leave people better than I found them in some way, shape, or form. Like, be that like through a smile or a hug or just kind of being a light in other people's lives in some way. And so, yeah, that's really the legacy that I hope to leave.
That's beautiful. And so, as we close our conversation, my last question to you is if you could leave just a bit of truth or maybe a word of encouragement to someone who's still trying to figure out their life purpose, what would it be?
Mhm. Um, it's to be yourself. And I know that seems like such generic advice. But to really look at like what are the things that you are naturally talented at, like what are the things that you love to do, and there is something within those things. And if you don't know what you like, well, what don't you like? And then trying to see if there's like the opposite to that. Because, when it comes to your life's purpose, I also want to say, like, be patient with that because it will shift and change and evolve as you grow and as you evolve as well. And so, not holding tightly to anything that you pick up along the way and just being open and curious. I think like if you can have a mindset of curiosity, then
Mm,
um, it will slowly start to reveal itself to you along the way.
that's beautiful. And it's true. Curiosity, but also just the slow down, just to kind of listen, be in the peace of it all. Don't be in such a hurry. That's like my biggest, that's where I'm at. That's the in between that I'm at right now is coming from task oriented mind, like, got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this too. Just really slowing down and enjoying the day, being more intentional in the moment and trying to be present, making eye contact with people, just not constantly, okay, yeah, hurry, I got to go to this next thing or whatever. So that's beautiful that you say those things. Yeah, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you outside of this podcast, how could they do so?
Yeah, my favorite place to be is on Instagram. It must be a millennial thing. So you can find me. My full name is Rawinia with two underscores and then Judson. So on Instagram, that's the best place. Like I'm also on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you search my name, you'll probably find it because I know that there's no one else on this earth with my name. Uh, so yeah, you can find me in those places and feel free to connect with me in that way. I really love connecting with people and hearing from people. And yeah, if there's something kind of that's come up within this podcast that you want to ask me a question about, feel free to shoot me a DM.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to say to you, sweet friend, thank you for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that remind us purpose isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, and growing through the things that we go through, understanding that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Step movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So friend, wherever you are today, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. Until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.